Hey everyone, Robert Peake here from the Spontaneous Dungeon Master. This is the third video in a series where we basically take you from the start of creating an adventure all the way through playing it through to, in this video, debriefing and seeing how it all went. So the first video, again, is using the one-page, one-shot toolkit to prepare an adventure in real time on the fly. The second video is a full playthrough of that, so about a couple hours of actually playing D&D using just the notes from that prep session. And this video is the debrief session. So you might want to check out those first two videos, or at least look at a bit of the playthrough. It's going to make a lot more sense when we then talk about what we learned and what our experience was in this video.
Okay, so we've all just watched the premiere of A Sinking Feeling. We got to watch it all the way through and see each other and how it all went again. I thought it was really enjoyable and interesting and strange to see everything that went differently than expected and how it all worked out. And it was a lot of fun. But I wanted to get your guys' take on it. Kind of quick takeaways, initial thoughts, stuff that was unexpected, stuff you liked, stuff that was weird or challenging, just all of it. Bar, do you want to just kick off with like what's one standout moment from the experience for you, either in game or meta wise?
I do think it was first of all, it was definitely a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I liked the getting into it right away as an encounter. I love the flashback device. That way, like, hey, you don't have to go through all the innocuous stuff like, oh, we walked up here and we did all that. Took me a minute to figure out what was going on in the beginning. I did notice that. But then I realized, oh, yeah, just how I'm feeling about all of this. But definitely like that encounter right away and then having to deal a little bit with the environment. And I think my most standout part was I really did not think that when that hobgoblin took off that we were going to catch up to it at all. So my character was just kind of like resigned to like, oh, I guess we're just going to have to look around and figure out what happened. But I did not take into consideration the bloodthirstiness or anger of a orc that's just been shot, half orc that's been shot 2 times in the back. So I was like, that was very surprising to me and very, very cool. It was probably my highlight of it, like, oh, it's not over.
Surprising to me too. Yeah, totally surprising to me too. Yeah, no, that was a great moment. Yeah, Cam, what were you thinking about all of it? What was going through your head as Erki was
Well,
racing for the
yeah, to piggyback off Mario, I was sad. I mean, genuinely, like, this is not what I want Erki to be doing at all. He's about to run towards a very powerful assassin. I mean, he made it through 2 Constitution saving throws. I think on watching your preview that would have ended pretty bad if he hadn't saved him. And now he's going to fight a scorpion on top of all that, which I'm sure gets 2 attacks in its turn. And I didn't know that Gideon had the ability to materialize with Marshall right next to him. So I thought Erki's just running 120 feet away from his friends to his death. Yeah. And it all worked out in a very cool way. There were a few times, watching your setup video, like, wow, this could have gone so many bad ways so easily, and we just sort of unwittingly would choose this direction or that. And I've never seen the DM setup before. I've never played DM before, so you've got a great poker face. We don't the things I'm sure you want to say or express that you just can't because say we had headed to the cliffs or hadn't healed right then, etc.
Would have been a very different game. Yeah, it would have been a totally different game. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Randi, what were your kind of initial? You kind of joined in at the end, but what were your thoughts watching it all back?
Mm-hmm. I thought it was great fun. I mean, we had great fun that evening. I have like a feeling like we were just like getting very, very giddy. I mean, it was just like building up, and we were just laughing the whole time. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was totally fun. Yeah, it's amazing how much you can laugh in the midst of certain doom. Like you were saying, Gavin, there were so many ways it could have gone.
Yeah,
gone a lot worse for you guys. I was amazed at what a really great how quickly you formed into a team. I mean, you guys have been playing for a while, but in terms of your characters in this configuration, I don't think the 3 of you ever played.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Just the 3 of you before,
no.
And I was definitely impressed as a DM. I don't try and suss out every possibility, but I was very pleasantly surprised, in fact, that you guys overcame a lot of the nasty stuff a lot of it was above your pay grade, but you fared really well.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There was a couple times I was not certain I was going to be taking a dirt nap on that rock in that first encounter. But yeah,
You had it rough.
Yeah, with the 2 legs, yeah, at one point, yeah, losing both boots, I thought was a great.
Yeah, I really like the hazards. I mean, it's also a way to bring the scene more into life. So you're not just a static battleground. There's actually things happening around you, and that's also have to deal with that as well. And I like that.
Good.
The environment's a
Right.
factor.
Yeah. Yeah, the environment just jumped out as you guys all saw the prep video, I think, and just at some point I rolled quicksand and I went, oh, okay, we're going with this. We could have rolled anything, but at that point I went, okay, well, this has to be a major feature, I'm sure it was. Boy, it was not pleasant. I think everyone got in the quicksand at some point. So.
Had any of you played a 2-hour one shot before? I mean, obviously I haven't. I'm pretty new to D&D, but it felt like it moved along, but it still felt full. It felt like a full adventure.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to try and give it a beginning, middle, and an end in that short time period. My absolute proving ground for all of this is with my nephew. We play 1 hour because that's the max attention span of a 10-year-old. So
Right.
I've learned just how much you can fit, and it's basically for 1 hour. It's one encounter with a little book ending of some stuff. That's the deal. But yeah, it is. Less is definitely more in a 2-hour one shot. And you've got to all kind of have some agreement that you're going to try and bring it home, in some way toward the end, that you're going to not open up way more threads necessarily in the last 30 minutes, or there's just no way it's gonna go.
Right. You're certainly I wasn't going to use frenzy on the first encounter because then he has exhaustion, but I could see the time, we have about a half an hour left. We're starting a battle. I think I'll jump into frenzy now.
Pour the afterburner fuel. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I do agree. I think it's good. It's almost like that kind of nonverbal communication thing where it's a understanding of where we're at and okay, we're getting towards the end and this is the second thing we're fighting. So maybe I'm going to use up these spell slots, maybe I'm going to just go all for it, all ham on the overhealing or doing this just in case, And I'd like that whenever that happens, just everyone just kind of, it's like that kind of mutual understanding of the situation.
Yeah, I definitely recognize that where you have a feeling of time passing in a one shot because Mara and Robert, we've done a couple of one shots, and I remember in the beginning I was being a little bit hesitant for doing these short stories because for me role playing and character development that's such an important aspect of D&D for me. So I thought is there room for that in a one shot? So in the beginning, I was certainly also looking at the time and then thinking we have to find a bad guy and stuff like that when we're in combat. We played a couple of times and then we always it always had ended ended well, ended in an interesting way. I've learned to take it a little bit more easy and just relax and have fun what I like to bring into D&D is the role play, and I can always squeeze it in also even in combat. I've never had a feeling that that I don't get what I want from D&D. I can always just make it what I want.
That's great to hear. Yeah, as I was preparing this adventure, I was thinking to myself, oh, we got a bard here. And there's just nothing to seduce in this landscape. There's just, so it was amazing actually to watch you play, Randi, and go, okay, yeah, Gideon just brings the party himself. He's a one-man party. He's going to role play in combat. I think a lot of people think it's either role playing or combat, but actually you can have a lot of fun while you're getting your leg munched off. I think if you're just going for it in character, yeah, right.
I think you can learn just as much about your character when they're put in a position that doesn't play to their strengths too. Kind of cool. The desert's good for one shot as well, just because there's not much to do. We can't go off course too too much. So it is sort of about, the characters' personalities out there.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. You're out there. It's just you guys and the sand crawlers, and gonna make something
Yeah,
happen.
and I'll just to throw it back a little bit to that prep video. It kind of blew my mind a little bit what you're saying, like your ability to kind of assign a little bit of time to it, follow this kind of 3-act structure. It makes me think of like a TV show, like an episode of whatever. Like I think of X-Files because X-Files had like an overgoing mythology with all the characters, but then very often you have like a monster of the week or just one that kind of standalone. But even within there, you still have the ability to have character moments because you know your character and they might say this while they're doing that. But yeah, that whole scene, that whole first video, the prep, and then seeing it after we played it the second time, it was amazing to me to see like that could come out of that so easily.
Yeah. Well, just having I think for me having a method to the madness has been really, really helpful to be able to go, okay, well, let's focus on this character. Let's add some of this. Let's add some of that. You basically kind of follow the recipe, as it were, in my case, and you've got something you're willing to serve, to serve to your people and see what they like and what they spit out. And
well, we're eating it up. I'll tell you.
You're eating it up. I'm glad. I'm really glad. It was well. You guys are you're great dinner guests as well, so that helps. But yeah, you guys were pointing out that I got overly attached to that NPC. Ceremonious death. Yeah. But that happens all the time. Like Cam, you were talking about the DM having to kind of bite his or her lip, and like not say a ton of stuff. But yeah, you have to be willing to let stuff die, to let stuff go.
Well, right. It's usually joked that the DM is the sinister one that's inflicting punishment on the players, but it does go the other way too. Like I was laughing and felt a little bad for you watching that setup video. Like the light in your eyes, I could see you like going down this creative tunnel.
Character,
and this hobgoblin, she's really dynamic. She's got a cool thing going for herself, and then her head just left her body. It's pretty unceremoniously there.
One clean swipe, and that's the end of that. Okay, we're off on that. Yeah.
I mean, there could have been like a bit of a party confrontation where we would try to stop you and stuff like that. But I think that we've done that before. We would like try to calm things down. Let's not leave too many corpses.
Right.
But it's also a little bit of giving and taking. So like this time we thought we'll let Kevin have this.
Let him have this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't always agree with Erki, but. I have more affection when I watch a movie or anything, not to get too woohoo, but when a character has faults, when their beliefs are also, they embolden them, but they're also, their beliefs can hold them back occasionally. These flaws, we do campaign mode, and Erki's he's a tag along. He's not, there's way too many people who are well spoken in charge of the team. So he follows, suit. But in this one shot with all the history behind him leaving Faye and getting out, and to feel the sting of that poison in his shoulder again, and the cowardly, I mean, there's just stacked on stacked. It's like, there's no way he's letting this person live.
Broke. He just
I think every player just loves when his DM brings something from his own backstory into the game, and like it happened in this one shot, and it raises the stakes. It makes it so much more personal.
It does, yeah, totally, yeah. And it was amazing, Cam, as you were doing your intro, that you deliberately kind of brought that bit out, and that's just like DM gold. You're just going, you wait and see, the big reveal is coming at 1 hour and 47 minutes in here, or whatever. You're just licking your lips on those kind of things. Yeah, no, but it is, what occurs to me is there's risk. Like Mara, you were saying, this could have gone badly 12 different ways. So the DM in a way is risking that things could go badly or wrong. The players are risking like their characters' lives by doing what their character would do, which is different than what they want their character to do sometimes. It's like
I think like maybe if there's a moment in this session that kind of reflects that a little bit is like when Gideon did his backflipping to get over there, but then had a little bit of problem. of course, Marshall trying to fend off this sand skimmer crocodile thing can't pay attention to that.
Right.
So there's no like the meta. Yes, I heard that. Yes, I know that happened, but my character has no clue. He's got other things on his mind and on his feet, for that matter.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so to make a decision, it's always interesting for me. Like I feel like that's part of what your agency and you're playing your character is to make these decisions, even if you have extra information, but to like be true to the character, be true to the game, be true to the spirit of it that's going on. And that's just the fun part for me. That's that little magic in between that I love.
Yeah, and then you're kind of like the reader that knows a little bit more than the character knows at that point in the book, you know, and you go, don't do it, or look behind you, you know, that kind of moment that makes so much tension. Yeah.
I didn't know you could sort of create your own monsters. I wasn't aware of that. I thought you just had the book, but the sand skimmers that should be in the monster manual.
Yeah. So what I like to do so that I'm adhering to the mechanics of the game, because I trust the mechanics that they've built to be really well play tested and really solid. So I like to know what I'm in for in terms of the type of monster. So rather than completely homebrewing up a new creature from scratch, I do what's called reskinning. So in this case, I took the giant crocodile stats and the giant crocodile attributes and everything about the giant crocodile. And then I just made it look awful, just look ugly and weird and like something you've never seen before, because the unknown is way more terrifying than the known always, you know. So
right.
You wrap them in bandages, you hide them in the dark, you mutate them 6 ways from Sunday, and you know suddenly it's like we know what a giant crocodile is, but nobody knows what a sand skimmer is and what it's going to do next. You know, is it poisonous? Is it whatever? And then of course the only change that I obviously made was that they can swim through sand rather than being amphibious
and pull you into the quicksand.
And pull you into that and in under that, and so
that adaptation, like it still as a player it rings true. Oh yeah, of course these things that grew up in this harsh environment would go around like Jaws through the sand, and yeah, if they swim in there, wouldn't they pull you in? Of course they would. There's no dissonance there, so it's so cool how like you can do that to like just remap it basically.
Yeah, and because it's, as you said, it's like, you know, it make the animal makes sense, so the reskinned animal kind of makes sense too in a different environment or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And the giant crocs are probably a good idea for a one shot because it does get 2 attacks on its turn.
Yeah.
So it's still getting some opportunities there, but you're not having to put four creatures into battle because it's just going to take more time.
It just takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I've actually come up with a formula. I think it's something like 8 minutes per initiative order creature, approximately. You know, if you consider there's about 2 minutes per, and then about 4 rounds is your average duration. So I'm just kind of looking at that and going like, how many things do I want to pile in, you know, to a one shot to get everyone home before bedtime in 2 hours time. So yeah, those guys were designed to soften. They were you always want a lead out to soften, drain resources. So I put 2 of them out there, and I just decided that once they hit half hit points, they're going to retreat. Again, because, you know, things that are unseen that could come back are always more interesting than things that you've completely killed outright. So they were still swimming in the sand. They weren't out yet. But you know, they did their little softening. They did their job. Leading into the main fight.
Yeah, but I think 2 was enough to feel like a threat.
Yeah,
I remember that was my surprise when I watched the prep video that you had made your own homebrew creature basically just by rolling on the table. And I think it's also interesting just for as a player. I mean, I don't know all the creature stats, but of course I've played other games, so I've engaged in other creatures and stuff. So I thought it was funny to engage in this creature and be like what is this thing, and just react to it like naturally, basically. They're
it's showing you what it does with each attack. With each new.
It was a new experience to battle this thing, and it was a surprise, and it was it's nice getting surprised.
Yeah, it's nice getting surprised. Yeah, and it's nice getting surprised as a DM, and definitely, if you guys had gone toward the cliffs instead of the tower, I would have been into my spontaneous DM book, rolling some stuff up to figure out what was there. The main trope with all of this that I knew kept it pretty safe and pretty solid as a one shot is, of course, the tracking device.
The track, right?
You think you're tracking, and you're actually being tracked. Basically, right? You're being led deeper into the trap, as it were.
Well, I'll be honest with you, like that, I did not even character outside of character. I thought maybe something happened just to first investigating the caravan, just seeing it. I just thought maybe it got attacked by either these things or ravagers or bandits or something.
Right.
And I thought maybe one of the people that my character was still
he was still going, hey guys,
still on mission. Yeah. He thought like, hey, the princess is shooting at us. Like, no, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. But that also helps me, like when Erki decides to do his thing, I'm like, well, we gave this person their chance.
That's right. My conscience is clear. That's right. When you go for the where's my boot gone move. That was great. And then that's a classic, put a little comedy at the end to kind of diffuse it. I think that's one of the things I enjoy is the mix of seriousness and then knowing when to kind of crack jokes and be bit to the fourth wall and stuff like that.
It's about trying to have fun.
It's just trying to have fun,
right? And, it's fun to see. Marshall knows when things are funny and when he's being funny, and then you have the other side. Erki has no idea that this is, if there were an audience, that this is humorous. I like following those, finding those, little specificities to the story.
Yeah.
As I said before we started, I learned a lot about my character from this one shot, and I just take it back to campaign mode.
Yeah. It's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, a lot of as a DM, what I feel like my job is to set a really good stage, give you guys lots of weird props, lots of, just put stuff there, put a backdrop, and see how you interact. And invariably, as you interact with stuff and each other, which is one of the major things. And one of the things I love about this crew, you guys and my whole crew, is that you guys are really up for interacting with each other, which gives me time to plot the next evil thing I'm going to do to you. But yeah, a lot of it's just create an environment, and you guys will discover what your characters are really like, which is fun to watch. It's just really fun to watch.
Right, especially when there's three of us. There's a lot. Your character's getting a lot more time to get filled out, a lot more attention than six.
True.
It's an Erki episode.
Yeah. Well, when I went, somebody's gonna, once I saw an assassin, and the gears kind of turned, and I went, oh yeah, but you feed me, and I'm on the run from a bad guy backstory, and that's just like DM candy. Must consume as fast as possible. Put this card into play. Yeah. So those kind of things. Anytime you throw those kind of things that are going to create drama and complication, that's definitely cue to the DM. Jump on it. Throw it in there. So,
you can do a one shot, but still have story arc. And
yeah, especially if you bring the stuff in and you get a sense that the world keeps turning between episodes, as it were. You can create some continuity, which is fun. Yeah.
TV show. Always TV show. Next episode.
yeah, definitely. That'd be great to have the next episode. All right, parting thoughts. Yeah, I mean, let's just go. Least expected.
Should we roll to see?
Roll to see. Give me a D3. Yeah, no, exactly. No, let's just go reverse. Randi, parting thoughts. One unexpected moment or one thing you enjoyed or learned from the adventure to go out on.
Well, I mean, I like the scene at the ending with the social interaction with everything. Was I would say it's gonna go a bit slower, but I mean, Erki was running after this assassin, and the rest of the party was up in the tower, and I was like, I mean, I have this spell, Dimension Door, which could finish this pretty damn fast. But then I thought, I mean, the whole scene is like built up that like Erki's gotten challenged to a race, and I was gonna be like, I'm gonna let this roll like it is, And that just used the dimension door on himself and Marshall. So like
It's cool. That was
yeah.
cool. Yeah, sometimes it's knowing when to let other characters have the spotlight or have their moment, holding back actually on jumping into the scene or jumping in with your thing is just as powerful to the whole story. So yeah, that was a great moment. I loved the image of you guys up in the bleachers eating popcorn watching the race across the desert. It was great. Ken, what about you? When
Well, I
moment?
mean, on that, the Erki Gideon thing is always going to have a contradicting dynamic, and it's always going to add flavor and fun. I did want to ask you, Robert. I was just amazed at the 26-page, setup you have for rolling a story together, and I wanted to know if you would use that before, or how long it took you to put that together.
Oh yeah. Well, I'd been studying and thinking about how do I make this faster for a really long time. So probably over the last couple years that I've been playing, just I'm busy and my friends are busy, and I just go like, how can I make prep fast? So I started studying a lot of different approaches. A guy named Sly Flourish does this thing called the Lazy Dungeon Master, which was just totally revelation to me. So I think really when I got into that got me down the path of like, okay, how do I be it's not lazy. How do I be super effective in a short amount of time? And then I just really started studying story stuff. I started studying plot and plot twists and tropes. What I realized with D&D is like less is really more. So actually pulling out some of these classic twists, like it's a trap, like that was the whole premise of this adventure was it was just an Admiral Akbar, right? The whole adventure was just that, right? That's the whole thing. So I realized that these like fundamental building blocks just really, really work. And this idea that, look, you just want to give them a thing to interact with. You want them to set a stage or give them a thing or come up with something led to the whole noun-based prep thing that really when that came into play, I went, okay, this is how I keep it simple. You've got an assassin, or you've got a castle that needs raiding, or you've got, a drunk giant, or you just need one thing for a one shot, and you can build a few things around that, give it a backstory, set them loose to interact with it, and they're going to learn stuff about themselves. They're going to interact with each other. They're going to bring the fun, as long as you dress up the, decorate the house for the party, basically, and they'll show up. So it was only really kind of since the kind of lockdown thing, so within this year, the last 3 to 6 months, that I kind of formalized all that and put it together solidly. But I've been using it quite a bit for not only for one shots but for campaigns too. You can use it just as well for
I'd imagine it's DM candy. I mean, I've never done it before and I'm new to this, but it just seems like having that. I mean, it wasn't, my wife even watched it. She doesn't understand any of this, but just the idea of, it's not like you're just rolling and going, okay, then I do this, this, and this. Like you did a ton of the work, just letting your imagination put the story together. But it was sort of a prompt. It was a prompt,
It's all prompt.
And you'd re-roll if you didn't feel it was the
right
you
can totally
thing.
re-roll or just pick off the list or whatever. You're sparking kind of off yourself as you go. But it's a ton of fun, I gotta say, to start with nothing and then like 20 or 30 minutes later you go, all right, I want to play this now. Like, let's go. Like, what happens, So it is super fun. It is actually a really fun way, and it is kind of DM candy. I put it out a couple of days ago and it's had like 400 or 500 downloads now off of DM's Guild.
Awesome.
Where people are just eating it up, which is great. I just love the idea that all this work isn't wasted, that it's going out and other DMs are getting to use it and have the kind of adventures we have or better, So no, thanks for asking.
I do DM a couple of games. I have DM in the past, and I think I told you this offline. Like, I wish I had this when I was like 12 years old. It would have made it so much easier. I mean, sitting there writing my stories, the story part of it, you're gonna deep in on that kind of stuff and characters, but like just that tool and seeing you use it and seeing you, to me, that's probably the most surprising thing about this whole thing was just creating that out of nothing, getting that baseline. And I think the skill part just comes a little bit in the weaving of like these kind of base things. How will this feed into this? How will it feed into that? Let me get there. It's a little bit like writing, like writing's like, I need to get to this point. How do I make it believable to get to this point? Understanding some of the themes. the types of words you would use would be like your type of characters and creatures and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see the process, seeing how like refined and how smooth you have it, so where it can do that and to create this encounters that we played out, and it just worked. It worked really well.
It was super fun to play with you guys. Thanks for doing it. Maybe we'll do it again sometime, or maybe this was it, but it certainly was a blast, and we'll carry on playing together amongst ourselves from here, using the toolkit and all of that. I hope this was useful to those of you watching. The idea was to just go end to end, right? From prep to game to how did you find it? So this was the how did you find it? How did you, what did you guys think part of this? And so thanks for being candid. My players will always tell me if something sucks, which is good too, just the feedback you want. But this went well, and it was fun. Hopefully you enjoyed watching it too. And definitely have more of this kind of stuff in some form or another coming your way another time. Thanks for tuning in.
So I thought that was a great conversation about how it all went, and I certainly learned a lot from the players and from watching myself play it back. There's a lot of things, just little things where I go, oh yeah, I could have done that differently, or that was working well. It's always an interesting experience to kind of watch any kind of D&D session and watch what the DM is up to. I hope you found this interesting and useful as well. If you liked this kind of thing, if you want to see more of this, let us know in the comments if that's interesting or useful to you. I love getting feedback, and be sure to subscribe if you're not already to the Spontaneous Dungeon Master channel, where we do more of this kind of thing, talking about just how to make your games a little easier to prepare for, a little more fun, a little more spontaneous. Thanks for being with us.